Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something a lot of you have been asking about.
Yeah,
Those frustrating coding plateaus you hit.
right.
You sent us a bunch of resources about this,
Hmm.
including this Algo Academy blog post.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's amazing how many coders experience that feeling.
Right.
Like hitting a wall,
Totally.
like a sudden dip in your progress, your motivation's going down,
Uh,
and it's like you're stuck in this loop,
yeah.
endlessly debugging the same stupid line of code.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
Right.
You really hit the nail on the head with that. And it's way more common than most people think.
Yeah.
Coding is a field that requires you to always be learning and problem solving.
Right.
And it can be amazing, but it's also really tiring.
Exhausting.
It makes sense that people hit these plateaus.
It does. And this Algo Academy blog post really describes what it looks like.
Mm.
Like what a plateau looks like. They describe the classic signs.
Yeah.
Like you struggle with new concepts, you feel overwhelmed, your productivity drops like crazy, and you even start to feel that coder burnout.
Oh, yeah. Burnout's a real thing.
It is.
And one of the most important things to remember is what the blog emphasizes.
Okay.
It's totally normal
Oh, good.
to hit these plateaus.
Ugh.
It doesn't mean you're failing. It's just your brain saying, whoa,
Yeah.
I need a sec to process all this.
Right.
It's like your brain needs to defrag to keep things running.
Oh, that's a great analogy. So if hitting a plateau is a natural part of learning,
Mm-hmm.
how do we work with it instead of fighting it?
That's where breaks come in.
Okay.
It might seem a little weird,
Yeah.
but stepping away can actually be the best way to break through.
I admit I feel this pressure to just power through,
I get it.
but this blog post is really making me rethink that.
And you should. It's for a good reason.
Yeah.
It goes into the science of why breaks are important.
Okay.
And it comes down to our brains.
Okay.
They talk about the attention restoration theory.
What's that?
It basically means our ability to focus is limited.
Okay.
It's like a muscle that gets tired.
So just like you wouldn't lift weights forever without a break.
Right.
We shouldn't expect our brains to code forever without a break.
Exactly. And the blog says that breaks spent in nature are the best for that.
Oh, interesting.
It's like hitting the reset button for your brain.
Okay.
There's just something about being in nature that helps us de-stress and focus again.
I've definitely felt that. Like when I go for a walk in the park, it's like suddenly I have space to think.
Exactly. And there's another cool thing happening too. It's called the default mode network.
Okay.
This is a network in our brain that becomes active when we're not focused.
Like daydreaming?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in these moments of not focusing, our brain starts to make connections and solve problems without us realizing it.
You mean like those aha moments when you're in the shower and suddenly you know how to fix that bug?
Yes. That's your default mode network doing its magic. The blog says this kind of thinking is often the missing piece when you're stuck in a plateau.
Interesting.
It's like letting your subconscious work things out.
So breaks are way more than just slacking off then.
Right.
They're actually important for our brains and for being good at coding.
I think so.
So what kinds of breaks are we talking about here? This Algo Academy blog post goes into different break types.
Yeah.
And it starts with these quick micro breaks.
Yeah, micro breaks are like mini resets for your brain.
Okay.
Just 5 or 10 minutes throughout your day.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're giving your brain a little stretch.
Okay.
It could be something as simple as standing up, stretching your legs, looking away from the screen, maybe even doing a quick breathing exercise.
That sounds like it could be really good for eye strain and all that tension we get.
Absolutely. And the blog talks about longer breaks too,
Okay.
like going out into nature.
Okay.
They say take 15 to 30 minutes to step outside,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a walk in the park, or even just sitting under a tree.
I like that.
It's not just about the fresh air, although that's good too.
Yeah.
Nature has a way of restoring our attention and improving our mood and creativity.
I can see that.
Think about how you feel after a hike, or even just sitting by a lake.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Refreshed.
Right,
It's like nature calms our brains down and we can see things clearly.
exactly. And the blog also talks about being more active on breaks.
Like going for a run or something.
Yeah, things like running, going to the gym, playing sports, anything that gets your heart rate up.
Yeah.
It's all about getting those good endorphins flowing, which helps your mood and energy.
Yeah.
And the blog points out that exercise can also make you sleep better, which is important for remembering what you're learning.
Huh. So maybe those late night coding sessions aren't so good if we're not sleeping.
Yeah, sleep is important.
And what about connecting with other people? The blog mentions social breaks,
It's true.
even for us introverts.
Even for introverts. Connecting with others, whether it's pair programming, going to meetups, or just talking in online communities, Right.
Yeah.
It can give you new ideas and perspectives.
Yeah.
It helps you break out of that little coding bubble we sometimes get stuck in.
It's like getting a fresh pair of eyes on a problem,
Exactly.
which can help you find solutions you wouldn't have thought of on your own.
That's a great way to put it.
And let's not forget about those hobby breaks,
Yeah.
where we step away from the computer and do something completely different.
I love those.
Me too. This could be anything like reading, playing music, making art.
Mm-hmm.
It's about doing something that uses your brain in a different way and lets it rest.
I agree.
And you might be surprised at the ideas that come to you later when you go back to your code.
It's amazing how that works.
It's like you step back to see the bigger picture,
Mhm.
and sometimes that's exactly what we need to find those solutions.
Right.
So we've got all these different break options,
We do.
from those quick micro breaks to longer nature escapes.
And everything in between.
Yeah, but the question is, how do we actually make this happen
That's the hard part.
in our busy lives? You know, especially when you've got deadlines and the pressure's on.
Yeah. How do we actually do it?
Mm.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
where it gets tricky, right? It's one thing to know breaks are good, but it's another to actually do them.
I think a lot of us struggle with that, you
I
know,
see this trap.
especially in coding. There's this pressure to just keep working and shipping code.
Yeah. Always be coding.
But this Algo Academy post actually has some good tips.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for making breaks part of your routine.
I like that.
One technique they talk about is the Pomodoro technique.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that.
Have you used it?
I have, actually. It's really helpful.
What is it for people who haven't heard of it?
Well, it's this time management method where you work for 25 minutes,
Okay.
really focused, and then take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
That's like building breaks into your schedule right from the start.
I've tried it, and it's surprisingly effective.
It is.
Those little breaks really help me stay focused and not get so tired.
Right. And they also talk about time blocking, which is basically planning your whole day,
Yeah.
including when you're taking breaks.
Okay.
Might seem a bit rigid, but it can be freeing because you don't have to wonder when to take a break.
Yeah, it's like giving yourself permission to step away,
Exactly.
knowing it's already in the plan.
And I think that helps with feeling guilty about it too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And you know what the blog even says? There's an app for that.
Seriously.
Seriously. Tons of apps that remind you to take breaks.
I've heard of a couple like Stretchly and Time Out.
Those are good ones.
Yeah.
I've tried a few, and they can be really helpful,
Yeah.
especially if you're like me and you get sucked in and forget about time.
Right.
It's like having a little coach telling you to take care of yourself.
Sometimes we need that external reminder.
Totally. Especially when we're deep in the code.
So true. The blog also suggests having a dedicated space for breaks.
Oh, that's interesting.
It doesn't have to be anything fancy.
Right.
Just a place away from your workspace.
So like a comfy chair in another room or something.
Yeah. Exactly. Or a spot on your balcony.
Yeah.
Even just a different corner of your office.
I can see how that would help.
It's about separating yourself physically
Yeah?
so you can disconnect mentally.
I like that. And lastly, the blog talks about being mindful during breaks.
Okay.
It's not enough to just step away from your computer.
Right?
You got to let go of those coding thoughts.
So no checking work emails on your walk.
Nope. The goal is to really rest your brain and let your creativity flow.
That makes sense. You know, a lot of coders I know, and maybe you too,
Oh, yeah.
struggle with feeling guilty about taking breaks.
It's hard to switch off sometimes.
Especially when they're deadlines, it feels like every minute is precious.
I know, but this blog has some great advice on how to think about breaks differently.
Okay, I'm listening.
One thing they say is to think of breaks as problem-solving time,
Okay,
not wasted time.
I like that.
Because sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to just step away for a bit.
Yeah, let your brain work on it in the background.
Exactly. And they also suggest setting an intention for each break.
What do you mean?
Like ask yourself, what am I hoping to get out of this break?
Okay.
Am I trying to relax, to think about my progress, to connect with people?
Yeah,
Having that purpose can make you feel less guilty.
right. Like I'm taking this break so I can come back refreshed.
Exactly. And if you work on a team, talk to your colleagues about it.
Okay.
Help create a culture where breaks are seen as a good thing.
It's about making it normal.
Right, not something to feel bad about.
And the blog says to track your progress.
Interesting.
Notice how taking breaks actually makes you more productive overall.
I think that's really true. You know,
Have you noticed that?
definitely, when I take breaks regularly, I get more done.
Yeah.
And I come up with more creative solutions and I make fewer mistakes.
It's like taking breaks helps you see things more clearly.
Yeah, like you avoid that tunnel vision.
It's like that saying, slow down to speed up.
Exactly. And the blog even shares some real stories.
Cool.
about how breaks helped people in their work.
Yeah. Like what?
There's this one about a software engineer named Sarah.
Okay.
She was stuck on this bug for hours.
Ugh, I hate when that happens.
So she went for a walk in the park,
Yeah.
and while she was walking, her brain was working on the problem in the background.
So she figured it out.
Yep, when she got back to her desk, she knew exactly how to fix it.
It's like her brain just needed that time and space to process everything.
It's amazing, right? And there's another one about a computer science student.
Uh,
He was trying to understand this really complex algorithm.
mm-hmm.
He was staying up all night, but it just wasn't clicking.
So it wasn't getting enough sleep?
Nope. And finally, he decided to just sleep on it.
Like a full night's sleep.
Yeah, and guess what?
What?
The next morning, he understood it perfectly.
Wow, so sleep really is important.
It's crucial. And the Algo Academy blog also talks about how to use breaks when you're learning on their platform.
That makes sense because you're using your brain in a focused way even when you're learning.
Right. They say to set a timer for focused learning sessions,
Okay.
like 45 minutes, then a break.
So it's kind of like the Pomodoro technique.
Exactly. But for learning,
Even when you're doing tutorials, you still need those pauses.
it helps the information sink in.
Right. And they also suggest taking reflection breaks.
After you've learned something new,
Yeah.
to let it solidify.
It's like taking a moment to celebrate what you've learned.
Exactly. And they also recommend switching between different types of coding problems or topics.
To keep things fresh.
Exactly. Keep your brain engaged.
And the blog talks about using their AI assistants wisely.
Yeah, which is interesting.
So don't rely on it too much.
Right. Challenge yourself to solve problems on your own sometimes.
Like working out your coding muscles.
Exactly. And for those who like to learn with others,
Yeah.
they suggest doing virtual study sessions.
Oh, cool.
It's a fun way to connect and get different perspectives.
I love that we've talked about so much.
It's been a good conversation.
The science of breaks, the different types of breaks,
Mm-hmm.
tips for actually taking breaks, and even how to approach breaks when you're using Algo Academy.
It's a lot to think about.
It is, but it's important to remember there's no one right way to do breaks.
Definitely what works for one person might not work for another.
And the key is to experiment
Find what works for you.
and be kind to yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a journey. And this deep dive has given us a lot to think about when it comes to those coding plateaus.
Mhm.
You know, it's not just about avoiding burnout. It's about helping our brains work better.
Totally agree. Taking those breaks is like investing in our coding skills, our creativity, everything.
So to wrap things up, what's the one thing you want listeners to remember from today?
I think the biggest thing is plateaus are normal. They're just part of coding breaks aren't a luxury. They're essential. And the good news is there are ways to make them work for you no matter how you work.
It's like we've given everyone a toolkit for getting past those roadblocks and becoming better coders.
Exactly. And remember, the best coders aren't the ones who never stop. They're the ones who know how to rest and recharge.
That's a really good point. But before we go, I want to leave everyone with a challenge.
I like challenges. What is it?
I challenge everyone listening to try one new type of break this week.
Ooh, I like that.
It could be something you've never done before or something you've been wanting to try.
And to make it even better, I challenge everyone to really pay attention to how that break affects their coding.
Good idea. Like, do you feel more focused, more creative? Any of those aha moments.
Exactly.
We'd love to hear about your experiences. Maybe share them on social media, tag the deep dive, and keep this conversation going.
Yeah, let us know.
This has been such a great deep dive. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and for helping us think about breaks in a new way.
My pleasure. It's been fun.
And to everyone listening, keep coding, keep learning, and keep taking those breaks.
And remember, have fun with it.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, happy coding.